finish up with my summary since we went over the 10 commandments of the covenant. Now I'm going to talk about how important this covenant is and how that we're not under a new covenant. A lot of people read that verse in Jeremiah and they think that we're under new covenant, but that's a lie. Yahuwah never got rid of his covenant. We are still under the same covenant that we was given a long time ago. Here, let me go over some scriptures with you right quick to help us get an understanding of that, and so also so that y'all can see why I say that. Leviticus chapter 26, verses 38 through 45. I'll go there. Leviticus 26. If you read that, you're going to get to verse 42, and it's going to say, "Then will I remember my covenant with Jacob, also my covenant with Isaac, and also my covenant with Abraham will I remember, and I will remember the land." So if it's talking about a new, different covenant, he wouldn't have to remember it. So apparently this is talking about an old covenant from a long time ago that he has to remember. Okay, so make sure you read verse 38 through 42, okay? Because it's talking about us and what we're supposed to do, and so that he will remember this covenant, all right, that we had went over in all of them other videos I made. Now we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 4. I'm trying to hit it quick. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 31. "For Yahuwah, thy Allah, or thy power, is a merciful power. He will not forsake thee, neither destroy thee, nor forget the covenant." You see that? "Of thy fathers, which he sware unto them." He's not going to forget this covenant. He's not going to throw this covenant away and send some son of God or whatever and make a new one. He's not going to do that. He's not going to forget the covenant, okay? And I already went over what the covenant was in my other videos. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 9. We'll go there. It says, "Know therefore that Yahuwah, thy power, he is the power, the faithful power, which keepeth covenant." He's keeping this covenant. "And mercy with them that love him, and keep his commandments," which is his covenant, "unto 1,000 generations." Now when you read in the New Testament, Matthew chapter 1, verse 17, I'll turn there. It says, "So all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations, and from David unto the carrying away into Babylon are 14 generations, and from the carrying away into Babylon unto Christ are 14 generations." So 14 plus 14 plus 14, I don't think that's 1,000. That's what, 32 generations? What? Let's see. Yeah, 32 generations, not 1,000. Now we just read in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 9. "Know therefore that Yahuwah thy power, he is thy power, the faithful power, which keepeth covenant," see that? "And mercy with them that love him, and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations." Okay, it ain't supposed to be no 32 or 42. Okay, and then there's a new covenant. Okay, that's just not right. It would actually be 42 if I'm not mistaken, because you got 14 times 3. Yeah, that'll give you 42. So that'll be 42, not 1,000. So excuse me about the 32 earlier. I got 32 wrote down here because I was probably rushing, didn't carry the 1. Now folks gonna think I don't know how to add. But yeah, even though whether it be 32 or 42, we see that that is nowhere near 1,000 generations. So we are not supposed to be under some new covenant. Okay. So we're going to go to Exodus chapter 32, verse 19. Exodus 32 and 19. Let me go there. What I got here? What I got here? And it came to pass, as soon as he came nigh to the camp, that he saw the calf and the dancing, and Moses' ankle waxed hot, and he cast the tables out of his hand and brake them beneath the mount. Now, I guess the reason why I put that down is because that was when he broke the covenant tablets. Okay? But they had spiritually broke the covenant. So what he did was physically broke the covenant. Now we're going to go to Exodus chapter 34 because they broke the covenant. So he broke it. Okay? Verse 1, Exodus 34, starting at verse 1. And Yahuwah said unto Moshe, hew thee 2 tables of stone like unto the first, and I will write upon these tables the words that were in the first tables, which thou breakest. So he gonna give them the same covenant that he had before. The same covenant. There ain't gonna be nothing new, different about it. He said he gonna give them the same words he gave before. So when we're back in the wilderness, and as Ezekiel talks about, and we're put up under the bond of the covenant, that covenant is gonna be this same covenant right here. Same one. It's not gonna be no new special covenant. Okay, it's gonna be that same one. Alright, so we'll go to verse 28. And he was there with Yahuwah 40 days and 40 nights. He did neither eat bread nor drink water. And he wrote upon the tables the words of the covenant, the 10 Commandments. So the 10 Commandments that I just went over with everybody in these videos, that's the covenant. Okay? And that is why the curses was brought upon us, because we broke the covenant. Not because we broke the law. It was because we broke the covenant. It wasn't because we stopped wearing fringes or zit, or you shaved the corners of our beard, or that wasn't it. It was the covenant. And that's what a lot of people don't want us to really grasp and understand, that if we turn back to this covenant, that's what's going to give us the blessings that we're looking for, the power that we're looking for, the redemption that we're looking for. Everything starts after we turn back to this covenant, okay? Now we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 11, so I can show y'all how the curses started. Deuteronomy 11 and verse 26. Behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. A blessing if you obey the commandments or covenant of Yahuwah thy power, which I command thee this day, and a curse if you will not obey the commandments or covenant of Yahuwah your power. See? But turn aside out of the way which I command you this day, to go after other gods which ye have not known. See, back then they didn't know nothing about no Jesus. Okay, they did not know about, there wasn't no Christianity, it wasn't no crosses, it wasn't none of that stuff. So we broke that covenant, and that's what's bringing a curse on our people. That's why I try to explain to people that it's a curse to even go. Going to church is a curse. That's bringing curses on you. Or wearing a cross is bringing a curse on you. Okay, the Heavenly Father is cursing you. Okay, for going to church, for wearing a cross, for believing in Jesus. That is bringing a curse. Because back then, they did not, it wasn't even no Jesus back then. Jesus hadn't even came back then. So we know they wasn't worshiping a Jesus. Okay? So yeah, that's pretty plain and simple, cut and dry right there. Now we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 25. Because I had people try to tell me, it was like, well, you're not even keeping all of the laws, trying to make the issue about me, like I'm not right, so don't listen to nothing I'm saying because I'm not even keeping all of the laws. Well, none of us are keeping all of the laws. This is one of the laws we was told in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 25. It says, the graven images of their gods shall ye burn with fire. Thou shalt not desire the silver or gold that is on them, nor take it unto thee, lest thou be snared therein. You see that? For it is an abomination to Yahuwah thy power. See, it's an abomination to have these graven images, these statues of Jesus and Mother Mary and baby Jesus, and these crosses, gold crosses, silver crosses. It's an abomination to have that. We're supposed to be burning that stuff down. All them churches, all the stained glass windows, all of the statues, all of the pictures, the posters, the paintings. We're supposed to be burning all that stuff down. But you don't see us doing that, though, do you? Okay. So at least get it out your house. If it's in your house, get it out. Okay. So yeah, this is talking about that same covenant, y'all. All of the videos I went over with the Ten Commandments was because we're still under that same covenant. And whenever we don't keep those 10, that's when the curses are in our life. That's when the sickness comes. All the doctor visits, all the doctor bills. You can pray all you want to. You can it can pour all oil all over your head. It's not going to make no difference. You're still going to be sick. You're still going to have family members to die. All kind of hell going to be going wrong in your life no matter what you say. You can say you blessed, but we know you lying because you're cursed. If you're not keeping this covenant, you are cursed. Bottom line. So some people not going to agree with that. Of course, I really don't care, but I'm just trying to just put it out there. You can receive it or you can reject it. It really don't matter to me. I'm still going to put it out there whether you like it or not. So, yeah, but now since we know what the covenant is, I already went over each individual commandment of the covenant. I even showed you that we're still under this same covenant. Now we're going to deal with what happens after we turn back to this covenant. And this is just for the people that agree with me. If you don't agree with me, you don't like my videos, you think I'm wrong, don't watch my videos. I never asked you to watch them or subscribe or anything. You ain't even got to watch them. It's a red box with an X in it. You can click on it. But for those of you that are Negroes who believe what I'm saying is right, the rest of this video is for you. Okay? So now, yeah, because I've been getting a lot of messages from people trying to tell me I'm wrong and I need to shut up or whatever, but I ain't trying to do all that. But anyway. So now I'm going to go into Deuteronomy chapter 30, verses 1 through 10. I recommend everybody read that. I'm going to just go over it a little bit. But it's basically talking about what we do when we turn back to the covenant. So, verse 1, and it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, you see, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whether Yahuwah thy power have driven thee, and shall return to Yahuwah thy power. How do we return to him? We return to the covenant, to these commandments. Alright? Okay. Verse 2, and shall return to Yahuwah thy power, and shall obey his voice, according to all that I command thee this day. Alright? Thou and thy children with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, that then Yahuwah thy power will turn thy captivity. That's the first thing that happens. Usually you see, like, I get to give you a good example. You notice that we don't pick cotton for no pay anymore. You notice they're not working us slave labor and not paying us anymore. You notice they're not whipping us with whips anymore. Okay. You notice we're not being called slaves anymore. Okay. Even though financially we're still slaves because we can't even afford to go back to where they took us from. But we're not being held like captives like how we were back then, in shackles and chains. Of course, now the chains are invisible, but still just the idea that we don't have shackles around our necks anymore, on our ankles and our hands anymore, anything like that. Okay. But yeah, the first thing that happens is he turns our captivity. So we're already seeing where our captivity is beginning to turn. These last, I'd say, 80 years, we've seen our captivity turn from being enslaved. Just a little over 80 years ago, they were still having slaves down south. So yeah, I'm saying 80 maybe to 100 years. we've seen a change there. So we seeing the turning of the captivity because some of our people have turned back to Yahweh and they turn back to the commandments. Okay, so that's the first thing. Uh, we in verse 3. So once he turns our captivity, it says, and have compassion upon thee. Now the compassion, we're starting to see the compassion also. I explained this to some other people. The compassion that Yahuwah was giving us is through our enemies, because he's the one that caused our enemies to fight against us. He can also cause our enemies to be a blessing to us. He can change the hearts and minds of people. Okay, and he can harden people's heart like how he did Pharaoh. He hardened Pharaoh's heart, caused Pharaoh to be our enemy. You see, so uh, when he softens people's heart, it causes people to be more respectful toward you. It causes people to not call you the N word anymore. Okay, it causes people to allow you to vote. It causes people to allow you to eat in the same restaurant as them, to work on the same jobs as them, to get the same pay, sometimes better pay. I get paid better than some of my Caucasian people who I work with now. So we're seeing the compassion being put on us from Yahuwah through our enemies. And the scripture that you want to reference that with line upon line, precept upon precept, is going to be 1 Kings chapter 8, and it'll be verse 46 through 53. But the main verse that you're going to want to focus on to understand how the compassion works is verse 50. I'll turn there. 1 Kings 8 and 50. It says, and forgive thy people that have sinned against thee, and all their transgressions wherein they have transgressed against thee, and give them compassion before them who carried them captive, and that they may have compassion on them. You see, so the people, the Caucasian people who carried us on slave ships as captives, slaves, prisoners, are giving us compassion. We get compassion when we turn to Yahuwah and keep the covenant. We focus on the commandments. Everybody else going to do what they're supposed to do. Everything else will fall in line if we turn back to that covenant, which is those 10 commandments. So that's what the compassion is that we're getting now. That's why some of us get raises on our jobs. Some of them call us, I don't know, they try to say we kissing butt or something like that. I'm just trying to put it in a nice way, but that's really not what's going on. What's happening is we've done turned to Yahuwah and we're keeping the covenant. So Yahuwah is causing our enemies to have compassion on us. Some of us they treat like crap because we too hard-headed and we don't want to obey. So Yahuwah allows our enemies to rule over us, to do things to us that we don't like. Okay? But yeah. But that's what's going on now. And of course, that final thing is when he returns and gathers us. And I don't have no dates for that. I'm not going to be trying to predict anything. But he will return and gather us. But a lot of people want to know exactly how is that going to come about. So I got a few scriptures that'll kind of help us see what's going to happen there. And I'll just throw them at you right quick. You can always just go back and read them. But we're going to start with Isaiah chapter 34, verse 2. Let me turn there. Isaiah 34 and verse 2. For the indignation of Yahuwah is upon all the nations, and his fury upon their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood, and all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their host shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. Verse 5. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea. That's Edom, by the way, or wherever the Edomites will be living when this happens, which in this case is like America, Europe, Australia, okay, London, France, Italy. Okay, but Idumea is where Edomites are living, or Idumeans. So it says, my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people, you see what I'm saying? The people of my curse to judgment. So he's going to judge the people of Idumea. This is not talking about a particular land. This is talking about any place where these Idumeans, which are Edomites, Caucasians, are living. This is what this is talking about. All right. Verse 6. The sword of Yahuwah is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, and with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For Yahuwah hath a sacrifice in Bozrah, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. So when it says the land of Idumea, understand that it's talking about wherever these people are living at in this day and time, or whenever this takes place. Okay. Verse 7. And the unicorns shall come down with them. That's a rhino, by the way. And the bullocks with the bulls, and their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness. For it is the day of Yahuwah's vengeance, and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. So this is talking about the day of vengeance. And I mentioned this in a couple of other videos, but that's what's got to happen first before anything else can take place. Once we turn back to the covenant, we receive the compassion. Then as Yahuwah begins to return, there has to be the day of vengeance. The day of vengeance is going to come. Okay, that's got to be first. Before anything else happens after that, first thing got to happen is the day of vengeance. Let's get into some more scriptures about it. All right, we're going to go to Isaiah chapter 61. Go there. Verse 2. It says, to proclaim the acceptable year of Yahuwah and the day of vengeance of our God, or our power, to comfort all that mourn. Okay? And this is for our people, the people of Zion. Okay? To give us beauty for ashes, blah, blah, blah. Okay? But there it is again, the day of vengeance. Okay? So now we're going to go to chapter 63. We're still in Isaiah. Chapter 63, starting at verse 1. Who is this that cometh from Edom? You see, Edom, Idumea, Edomite, Caucasians. Okay. Who is this that come from Edom with dyed garments from Bozrah? See, there's Bozrah again. Okay. This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in his greatness and his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save, because he's coming to save us from Edom. The only people that need to be saved from Edom is Negroes, black people. Okay. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat. Verse 3, I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me, for I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury. Their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. Verse 4, for the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. So it's the time for him to redeem his people through the day of vengeance. So the day of vengeance has to come in order for us to be redeemed. So there's no stopping that. It's going to happen. Okay, we're dealing with the day of vengeance. And I'm going to go into another scripture. And that is, we're going to go to Isaiah chapter 66. We're going to hit that, because we're almost out of Isaiah. 66 and starting at verse 15. For behold, Yahuwah will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. Verse 16, for by fire and by his sword will Yahuwah fight with all flesh. I know it says plead in some of your Bibles, but it's actually fight with all flesh. And the slain of Yahuwah shall be many. So it's going to be a lot of people that's going to be killed. It's going to be a lot of people that's going to die. It's going to be a lot of bloodshed because it's the day of vengeance. It's going to be a cloudy, dark day. It's not going to be nothing happy about it. But this is what's going to have to happen in order for all of us to be redeemed and freed. Because right now, there's no way we can be redeemed. There's no nation of people that's getting together to help all of the black people so that we can have our own place in nation and government. It's not happening. Okay? So apparently there has to be something drastic, something really major, just like when we was in Egypt. Okay, that's the prime example. The Pharaoh did not want to let us go, so some major things had to happen. The entire infrastructure of Egypt had to be destroyed, basically. Okay, and until finally they had no choice but to let us go. And then they made that last-ditch effort to try to cross the Red Sea. Okay, but they all drowned. All right, but look what had to happen to Egypt before we was finally freed and let go. Okay, the same thing is going to happen again. Same thing. So we're going to go to Psalm 68 because we're talking about his chariots now. The chariots, when he comes with the chariots and flaming fire, taking vengeance. Psalm 68. And let's see, Psalm 68 and verse 8. The earth shook, the heavens also dropped at the presence of our power. Even Sinai itself was moved at the presence of Yahuwah, the power of Yahshua. So when he came down on Mount Sinai, I went over this in some earlier videos, but he came down in a chariot. That was a chariot that came down on top of Mount Sinai. Even right now, you Google Mount Sinai, you're going to see that right now it's still black. Everything's still burnt on the top of Mount Sinai because he came down in fire, burnt everything with extreme heat. Let's see, we're going to go on to verse 17. Verse 17, it says, the chariots of Yahuwah are 20,000, even thousands of angels. Yahuwah is among them as in Sinai. See that? In the holy place. So these chariots came down on Mount Sinai. And that's what's coming in Isaiah chapter 66, verses 15 through 16. He's going to come with those chariots. All right. And then we're going to go to Psalm 78. And verse 48. He gave up their cattle also to the hail, and their flocks to hot thunderbolts. So that's what was going on in Egypt. He was shooting them with those hot thunderbolts. And those thunderbolts, these chariots, a lot of people probably don't really get that. But the chariots can shoot these thunderbolts. Okay? At least that's what they look like to them. Well, to us, we would think it was just lightning. But it's actually coming from a chariot. Okay? So we got that. And yeah, 48 and 49, he cast upon them the fierceness of his anger. We're in verse 49. Anger, wrath, and indignation and trouble by sending evil angels among them. So these same angels, he's going to use these angels to attack all of the places where Edom is residing right now. All of the places where Edom will be living, where our people will need to be delivered and redeemed when this day of vengeance comes. Okay? So he already has angels set aside for this particular task. They done it before, just like Sodom and Gomorrah. When Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, it was because of the angels. Those evil angels who are controlled by Yahuwah, they attacked Sodom and Gomorrah. Go back and read Sodom and Gomorrah. You're going to see that it was the angels. They even came and got Lot, told Lot, you got to get out of here because we're finna destroy this place. Okay? Egypt was attacked by evil angels. Okay? America going to be attacked by evil angels. It's all this stuff going to happen again and again for his people. Okay? All right. Now we're going to go to Isaiah chapter 49, starting at verse 22. because we're still dealing with the day of vengeance. Because before anything else can happen, we got to get past the day of vengeance. So Isaiah chapter 49 verse 22. Thus saith Yahuwah, our power, behold, I will lift up my hand to the Gentiles and set up my standard to the people, and they shall bring thy sons in their arms, and thy daughters shall be carried upon their shoulders. And kings shall be thy nursing fathers, and their queen thy nursing mothers. They shall bow down to thee with their faces toward the earth, and lick up the dust of thy feet. And thou shalt know that I am Yahuwah, for they shall not be ashamed that wait for me. So, in order for anybody to bow down to us and carry us on their shoulder, of course something bad, drastic would have had to have happened. So, this is what is a result of Yahuwah sending his angels, fighting and attacking, redeeming us with force, with stretched out arm, with power, and with fury poured out. Now they want to bow down, you see, because they're not going to bow down now. Okay, so that's what it's going to take. It's going to take these people getting basically almost wiped out, destroyed, everything they have being gone. And once that's gone, once their military is destroyed, once their officers are destroyed, all of the captains, everybody that's in some type of leadership position, once they're destroyed and taken out of the way, then finally they're probably going to bow down, okay, or get killed, one or the other, because the nation that don't serve us, they're going to be destroyed according to Scripture. All right, so we got Isaiah chapter 60 verses 1 and 2. I might have went over that already. Let me check. Isaiah chapter 60. Let's see. Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of Yahuwah is risen upon thee. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But Yahuwah shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. And the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and kings to the brightness of thy rising. So once the gross darkness comes, it's going to hit everybody with darkness, but our people's going to have light. And so the other people are going to come to us, because we're the only one going to have light. Everybody else is going to be in darkness. All right. Now we're going to go to verses. Let's see, verse 12. Verse 12 through 14. This is what I was talking about just a minute ago. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. That's in verse 12. When Isaiah chapter 60 verse 12. It says, yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. Because there ain't going to be nothing left. We're going to destroy everything. So they either serve us or they get utterly wasted. So that's why they're bowing down. What we just read earlier. Alright. Okay, I already read that. They'll be utterly wasted. Verse 13, the glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, the fir tree, the pine tree, the box together, to beautify the place of my sanctuary, and I will make the place of my feet glorious. Alright. Now we're going to go to Jeremiah 30 and 7. Okay. The infamous Jacob's trouble. Jacob's trouble, that is about the other nations getting in trouble and us being delivered. That is part of the day of vengeance also. Jeremiah chapter 30, starting at verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. See, we're going to be saved out of it. But it's going to have to be a trouble. It's going to have to be a terror. It's going to have to be horrific, because it's the day of vengeance. It's not going to be no happy day, y'all. It ain't going to be no everybody coming together, hugging and shaking hands. It ain't going to be like that. It's going to be a day of vengeance, all right? I mean, you're going to have slaves that was hung on trees, that was whipped and killed and whatnot, coming back to life. Okay, what you think they're going to want to do when they come back? Okay? So, yeah, all of that's going to happen. And, of course, that's talked about in Ezekiel chapter 37, verses 10 through 14. The undead army, the army coming back to life. All the Negroes that was killed coming back to life. Yeah, that's in Ezekiel. Now we're going to go to chapter 49, verse 20. Let's see, 34 minutes. Whew. I knew it was going to take a long time. 49 and 20. It says, Therefore hear the counsel of Yahuwah, he that he hath taken against Edom, and his purpose that he has purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. That's just where Edomites lived. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. So now we see he's going to use the flock to make their habitation desolate. Who is the flock? Well, Ezekiel chapter 34 verse 31 says that the flock is men. Okay, and that's the Hebrew Israelite men. Ezekiel 34 and 31. I can turn there right quick. Ezekiel 34, 31. It says, "And ye my flock, the flock of my pasture, are men, and I am your power, saith Yahuwah." So he says the least of the flock of his men is going to draw them out. All right, because we're going to be a part of that army. All right. Jeremiah 51, 19 and 20. I'll go there right quick. It says, "The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Yasharal is the rod of his inheritance. Yahuwah of hosts is his name. Thou," talking about who he mentioned in the 19th verse before this, "thou art my battle axe and weapons of war, for with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms." So he's going to use his people to destroy kingdoms. See that? So it's not going to be us making peace with all of the nations. It's not going to be a peaceful day. All right? Because if they don't serve us, we got to destroy them. So that's what the army is in Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 10 through 14 is for. If you read Ezekiel chapter 25, verses 12 through 14, and verse 17, it tells you that by the hand of my people Yasharal, that's how it's going to happen. Once the day of vengeance takes place, and we are allowed to get our revenge. Okay? Now you're starting to see why people love the New Testament so much, and they want to try to get rid of the Old Testament. Oh, my battery's almost dead now. But I'll make another video, and I'll further go over into the army and how the army is going to go forth. Our army going forth, ruling over the nations, okay? And I'll get into that later. But I'm out of time on this video. My battery's about to go dead. Yeah, that's what happened. That's what's happening after we turn to Yahuwah. We keep the covenant. We get the freedom from the captivity. We get the compassion. And then we go into him returning through the day of vengeance. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video. This Elder Young One. I'm out.